We're extremely honored to have you here. We're very excited, very happy. It's a historic visit. And I don't know if you know that you are the first American president to officially to visit Qatar. Right. So we're very honored. We're very honored.
In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, you know, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength, otherwise bad things could happen. But hopefully we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them, but hopefully we'll never have to use them because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it. Do it themselves. friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East, I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. Oh, what among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot.
Marlene, is that better? Hopefully, can anybody hear me? Let me know in the comments. What in the world? Okay. Hopefully that's better. All right. So with that, I want to show you the clips from Trump actually meeting with the Syrian president. This was right before he jetted off to Qatar. So here we go. President Trump meeting with the Syrian president in Saudi with Mohammed bin Salman. There they are. They have a chance. Now, during this meeting, Trump, the Syrian president, basically said they want American help. Of course, they want American money. Everybody does. There's nothing new about that. But they want American help. They want American assistance. They want American money. But they are willing to join. He said that they would be willing to join the Abraham Accords, Syria. And this meeting was brokered at the behest of Mohammed bin Salman. And Trump specifically spoke said in his speech to the Saudis, it is time for the Saudis to join the Abraham Accords. Imagine the global tectonic shift that would occur if Trump could get Saudi and Syria on board with the Abraham Accords and end the Tehran to Hezbollah pipeline that ran through Syria. Iran basically funneled money through the chaos that was Syria right into Hezbollah in northern Lebanon. Trump could end that pipeline like that. And Trump could bring two more nations into the Abraham Accord, recognizing Israel's right to exist. And basically taking a gigantic leap in the reorganization of the Middle East, its stability, its prosperity, and the complete decimation of the neo-globalist world order. This is absolutely awesome stuff. I am loving this. And there will not be one person on the propaganda corrupt media that will ever talk about a Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. I'm waiting to see if Donald Trump ends his visit in Turkey, because he said if there was fruitful talks between Putin and Zelensky, who are meeting face to face in Turkey, that Trump would fly there at the end of his visit and participate and help broker a deal. Imagine Trump helping to get a ceasefire in between India and Pakistan, Trump adding Saudi and Syria to the Abraham Accords, Trump getting peace with Ukraine and Russia. Yet there will not be one mention on the propaganda talking heads, the idiot media, about a Nobel Peace Prize for Trump, which he should be a shoo-in for. But this is awesome stuff. I am absolutely loving this. Now, this was not the only reason for this visit. Trump was in Qatar, obviously as a state visit, but he was also in Qatar to broker a deal, more deals. As we said yesterday, Trump got a complete commitment for $600 billion, but it's looking more like $1 trillion out of Saudi. He was in Qatar today, and according to Tenet Research, 1.2 trillion in trade and defense deals with Qatar, billions of dollars of Boeing aircraft, billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars of defense cooperation and defense purchases, like the F-15s that he was flanked by. Billions of dollars in partnership with Qatar Energy. The Boeing one supports 154,000 jobs in the US. This is what Trump is doing. This is what Trump is succeeding at. Now check this out, because Kevin O'Leary was talking about this stuff, and he was talking about just how hugely successful a trip this is, that Trump is rewriting all of it. Here we go.
Called the Middle East Circle of Friendship, and that is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Really, what's going on with this trip are two things. One is China. He doesn't want China to develop a relationship in what I call the Middle East Circle of Friendship, and that is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. And then you ask yourself, why are all these AI guys with him? What's with that? And I'll tell you what it's about. At the end of this week, he has a meeting in Abu Dhabi, and what's happened in the last 2 years, maybe it's taken 3, but U.S. is number 1 in AI development and spending. Number 2 is China. Number 3 now, and very advanced in certain verticals, is the United Arab Emirates. They are so far ahead in many different verticals. And he wants to see that cooperation on AI be removed from the China model, because remember there was talk about the UAE starting to talk to China about AI. He doesn't want any of that. He wants these companies to form very strong bonds in AI, and when we get later this week to the UAE, that's what you're going to hear about. This is crucial. So China and AI, and of course all this money talk's fantastic, but we're in an economic war with China, and he is cutting them off at the pass in the fastest growing region on earth, the Middle East. Really what's going on?
Absolutely. Trump is cutting them off at the knees, 100%. And he's reorienting the entire global trade and friendship and alliance towards the United States and away from China. And of course, China just blinked. China absolutely bent the knee in that deal over the weekend. And so Trump is getting it done. This is absolutely amazing stuff. And you're right side of the triangle. Thanks so much for being here. Marlene also in the house. God thought of it first. Nelly Capo, thanks so much for being here. Right side of the triangle, you're right. Trump is seriously pissing off the globalists. He is absolutely pissing them off. And I love it, because they're horrible people. So while this is going on, while Trump is completely decimating the globalist agenda and rewriting history here or in the Middle East, RFK is doing the same thing. He is destroying globalist Democrats in Congress. Check this out, because RFK was appearing before House committees, and you've got to see this, because it starts with, obviously, you're over the target when the liberal nutcases try to disrupt hearings. Check this out. Before we do that, if you could please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. And most importantly, share a Chris Highland Show with everybody that you know.
Members of the audience are reminded more with less. The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects. The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the...
They're absolutely apoplectic over a Democrat because he is now aligned with Trump, because he is no longer on the pharma bandwagon. This is absolutely awesome stuff. Now, he was sparring with complete loser, life loser Delaro, the blue-haired octogenarian. The woman makes no sense. The woman absolutely makes no sense. But he was sparring with her in a couple different cases. First, he's sparring with her because she's claiming that he's going to cut all kinds of stuff, and he absolutely destroys her. Check this out.
In both 2024, 2025, Congress, again, power of the purse resides here, appropriated $246 million for CDC's tobacco prevention programs. Do you commit to following the law again, fully obligating those funds so that we can help adults who want to quit using tobacco and prevent teens from becoming addicted?
Allow me to answer that by pointing out the absolute cataclysmic disorganization of this agency under your oversight for 40 years.
I love it. Let me start by pointing out the absolute cataclysmic disorganization of this department under your oversight, you loser. I've been here, 100 days? This is awesome stuff.
Had nine separate offices of women's health. When we consolidate them, the Democrats say we're eliminating them. We're not. We're still appropriating the $3.7 billion, but we're not keeping all nine. We had 8 separate offices for minority health. We eliminated one. We had 27 HIV offices.
Okay, let me just, I'm going to interrupt.
We had 59 behavioral health programs.
I'm well over time. If you could just get us what has been eliminated, why you're doing it, and the criteria by which the elimination has occurred. That is information that this committee needs in order to be able to do our job in terms of appropriating funds. Thank you.
And we will gladly provide that to you, but right.
You don't have a job. I mean, you do, honey. You get paid by American taxpayers to literally do nothing, to literally be a bump on a log, to grandstand with stupid speeches. This is the same RFK in connection with Doge, who went into health HHS and found out that they have 40 different CIOs. I mean, how utterly inane, stupid is that? That's what this woman wants to protect. They want to protect the grift and the corruption and the waste, because that's how they siphon off billions of dollars. That's how they siphoned off $50 billion a year from USAID. That's how they've siphoned off hundreds of billions from Department of Education. They siphon that money off into NGOs, from NGOs into other NGOs. Everybody takes a cut, and it eventually ends up back in their pocket. I am still waiting for Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at FBI to start investigating every single bureaucrat and Congress person who took taxpayer money from NGOs. They should all be indicted and prosecuted. If they had U.S. taxpayer money laundered into their pockets or into their campaigns or into their families' campaigns, they need to be indicted and tried. Do I ever think it's going to happen? No, but that's what should happen. Now, in another instance, RFK absolutely destroys. This is Delaro again, although she's not pictured, but he is absolutely amazing. Check this out. This, I think, is the liberal talking head takedown of the week.
Anybody thinks that we did gold standard medicine in this country from these institutions, look at our children. They're the sickest children in the world. Laura, you say that excuse me, Congressman DeLauro, you say that you've worked for 20 years on getting food dye out. Give me credit. I got it out in 100 days.
I'll give you that credit.
All right, so let's work together.
You've tried, listen to you, Laura, Congressman DeLauro. You've tried for 20 years, or at least you claim. You claim you've tried for 20 years to get food dye out. She hasn't done that. She's been on the pharmaceutical take. She's been on the big food take. She's been on the money trail. She'll stand up and give a speech, we need to get rid of food dyes, but she'll never actually do anything about it because she won't upset the money trail that has made her stinking rich on $150,000 a year, which is why, again, they need to be indicted and prosecuted. But I love it. He said, you say you've been doing this for 20 years. Give me credit. I got it done in 100 days. In other words, it was never about anything other than you didn't want to upset your little money gravy train.
And do something that we all believe in, which is have healthy kids in our country, for God's sake. We can all do that together. It's not, there's no such thing as Republican children and Democratic children. There's just kids, and we should all be concerned with them.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Dean.
Exactly. There are no Republican kids or Democrat kids. They're just kids. And we need to get food dyes out. We need to get this terrible, the stuff that's been foisted on the American public as quote unquote food, which is not. We need to get the 87 vaccinations off this ridiculous schedule, which is nothing more than a money grab for the pharmaceutical industry, which is making our kids sick with autoimmune diseases over and over and over again. You look at the rate of increase of autoimmune diseases in the last 20 years, ever since the vaccine schedule rolled out, it is up astronomically, geometrically. The cases of autism used to be 1 in like 2,000. Now it's 1 in 30. It's utterly ridiculous. And it's caused by the pharmaceutical industry, by the big food industry. The two huge lobbies in the American Congress. And he's right. There are not Republican kids or Democrat kids. We should be taking care of our children. And that also includes none of this ridiculous gender affirming nonsense. Not for minors. No, they're kids. They don't understand any of this. And when a kid shows up and says, I am of the other gender, it is because they have been abused by their parents and or abused by their school system, typically both. But it definitely comes back to the parents, because the parents either were participating in it or they were complicit in it. And so he's absolutely right. We need to protect our kids. The biblical worldview tells us that they are our posterity, that they are our treasure, that they are our big reward, and that we need to teach them right from wrong. But we also need to protect them. He's 100% right. And I'm completely on, I was never a fan of RFK as president because he's way too liberal. But on these issues, he is 100% right. And he's also right that this is something we should agree on. This is not something that should be a left versus right issue. We should want healthy food. We should not want pharmaceutical companies poisoning our kids with crap. Yet it was the Democrats who ran around and mandated the COVID jab for all kids. It was ridiculous. And he's fighting against it, and I am absolutely on board with it. Go RFK. So with that, hey, thanks so much for rolling up. Really appreciate everybody being here as we examine the Trump administration making history and destroying the neoliberal globalist world order. It is lovely to see Trump doing it overseas, RFK doing it in the Capitol building. It's awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you rolling up. Liquid Church and Gobo, thanks so much for being here. You guys are awesome. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share the Chris Highland Show. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. Until he comes again, until we meet again, until I catch you next time. Bye-bye.